Before the satisfying jingle of coins filled the pockets of merchants and townsfolk, trade in the lands we now call Belarus was a rather more creative affair. Imagine, if you will, a bustling marketplace somewhere around the 10th century. You wouldn't be paying for your pot of honey or sturdy axe with neat round pieces of metal. Instead, you might be trading furs, amber, or perhaps even grain. This was a world of barter, where the value of something was what you could get for it. It was direct, it was tangible, and it worked perfectly well for a very long time, allowing goods to flow along the great river routes that connected the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, making this region a crucial crossroads of commerce and culture. As trade grew more sophisticated, the need for a more standardized form of payment became apparent. Foreign coins began to trickle in, carried by Vikings and merchants from distant lands. Arabic dirhams, shimmering silver coins from the Abbasid Caliphate, were particularly popular. Finding a hoard of these in the Belarusian soil is like discovering a time capsule, a direct link to the vast trade networks of the early medieval world. These were not just money, they were exotic treasures, symbols of wealth and connection to faraway, almost mythical places. People valued them for their silver content, often chopping them into smaller pieces or hack silver to make change for smaller transactions, which is a wonderfully practical solution, isn't it? Alongside these foreign treasures, a local solution emerged that was hefty, impressive, and uniquely Eastern European: the hryvnia. These were not coins in the modern sense, but rather substantial ingots of silver, often shaped like long, slender bars, or sometimes chunky, boat-like lozenges. A hryvnia was a serious store of wealth, not something you'd use to buy a loaf of bread, but rather to settle a large debt or purchase land. Their very weight and purity spoke of value and trust. Archaeologists have unearthed these silver bars, some stamped with the marks of princes or assayers, providing a fascinating glimpse into the nascent economic systems taking shape long before the first local mints were established. This rich and varied monetary landscape tells us something quite profound about early Belarus. It was a place of connection, not isolation. It sat at the heart of Europe's great trade arteries, absorbing influences and currencies from the Byzantine Empire, the Arab world, and Western Europe. The mix of furs, hack silver, and hefty hryvnias paints a picture of a dynamic society adapting and innovating. It was a world on the cusp of change, a society laying the groundwork for the more formalized states and economies that would soon arise, bringing with them the very first coins to be struck on Belarusian soil, a new chapter in this long and fascinating story. The arrival of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania in the 13th century marked a monumental shift, not just politically, but numismatically too. For the first time, a state encompassing the Belarusian lands began to produce its own distinct currency. The earliest of these coins, appearing in the late 14th century, were tiny silver pieces, known as denarii. They were often quite simply made, bearing symbols that were profoundly important to this new and powerful state. One of the most common motifs was the columns of Gediminas, a stark, trident-like emblem representing the ruling dynasty. Another was the Vytis, or the charging knight, a symbol of martial prowess and sovereignty that remains central to Lithuanian and Belarusian identity to this day. These early coins were more than just a convenience for trade. They were a powerful form of political propaganda, a miniature declaration of independence and statehood. Every time a denarius changed hands, it reinforced the authority of the Grand Duke. The coins were struck from silver, the metal of choice for serious currency, but their size and weight could fluctuate depending on the economic fortunes of the duchy. During times of war or financial strain, the silver content might be reduced, or the coins made smaller, a practice known as debasement, which rulers throughout history have found all too tempting. These little silver coins, therefore, act as tiny economic barometers for their time. As the Grand Duchy grew in power and sophistication, so did its coinage. By the 15th and 16th centuries, larger denominations began to appear, such as the groschen, which was worth several denarii. The designs also became more elaborate. Portraits of the Grand Dukes, such as the formidable Vytautas the Great or the canny Sigismund II Augustus, started to appear, giving a human face to the state's authority. The inscriptions, written in Latin or Cyrillic, proudly proclaimed the ruler's titles, leaving no doubt as to who was in charge. These coins circulated widely throughout the vast territories of the duchy, from the Baltic to the Black Sea, unifying a diverse population under a single monetary system. The evolution of the Grand Duchy's coinage is a story of a state finding its voice and stamping its identity onto metal. From the first simple denarii bearing abstract symbols to the later, more refined groschen with royal portraits, the coins chart the rise of a major European power. They show a conscious effort to create a unified economic and political space. These pieces of silver are not just historical artifacts, they are the tangible remnants of a shared past, representing a golden age of statehood and cultural development in the history of Belarus and Lithuania, a legacy that would soon merge with that of its powerful western neighbor, Poland. The Union of Lublin in 1569 was a marriage of nations, creating the vast Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. This political union naturally led to a monetary one, and the coinage of the Belarusian lands entered a new, fascinatingly complex phase. While the Grand Duchy of Lithuania retained the right to mint its own coins, they now circulated alongside those of the Kingdom of Poland. This created a dual system where you might find coins featuring the Lithuanian Vitis on one side and the Polish eagle on the other. It was a metallic representation of the Commonwealth's motto of two nations. The coins were a constant physical reminder of this unique political arrangement. This era was the age of big silver, most notably the thaler. These large, heavy silver coins, first popularized in the German states, became the international currency of their day, a bit like the US dollar of the early modern period. The Commonwealth produced its own magnificent thalers, often featuring a detailed portrait of the reigning Polish king and Grand Duke of Lithuania, such as Stephen Bathory or Sigismund III Vasa. These were impressive pieces of minting art, showcasing the wealth and prestige of the Commonwealth. They were used for major transactions, international trade, and to pay mercenary armies, their high silver content making them trusted across Europe. Alongside the thalers, a whole host of other denominations circulated, catering to every level of the economy. There were silver groschen, copper solidi, also known as zelongi, and even gold ducats for the extremely wealthy. The copper coins were particularly important for everyday life, used by the common folk in the marketplace to buy bread, beer, and other necessities. However, these copper solidi were often subject to massive overproduction and debasement, especially during the wars of the mid-17th century. This led to rampant inflation, a situation where you needed a pocketful of copper just to buy what a single silver coin once could. It's a timeless lesson in economics, written in cheap metal. The coinage of the Commonwealth period reflects both the grandeur and the internal struggles of this sprawling state. On one hand, you have the magnificent silver thalers, symbols of power and artistic achievement. On the other, you have the flood of debased copper, a sign of crippling financial mismanagement and endless wars. The designs, blending Polish and Lithuanian heraldry, speak of a complex dual identity. This monetary system, with all its strengths and weaknesses, would define the economic life of Belarus for over 200 years, until the entire Commonwealth was eventually consumed by its powerful and increasingly hungry neighbors. The late 18th century was a brutal time for the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which was carved up in a series of partitions by its neighbors. By 1795, the Belarusian lands had been fully absorbed into the Russian Empire, an event that brought about a swift and total monetary transformation. The familiar Polish eagles and Lithuanian knights vanished from circulation, replaced by the stern and imposing emblem of the Romanov dynasty, the double-headed eagle. The currency itself changed, as the Russian ruble and its smaller division, the kopek, became the sole legal tender. This wasn't merely an economic change, it was a powerful act of political erasure, a way of stamping a new imperial authority onto the daily lives of the people. The coins of the Russian Empire were formidable and standardized, reflecting the centralized, autocratic nature of the state. Heavy copper coins were minted for small change, massive 5-kopek pieces that felt wonderfully substantial in the hand, while silver and even gold rubles were used for larger sums. The designs were uniform across the vast empire, from Warsaw to Vladivostok. They typically featured the imperial eagle on one side and the denomination and year on the other, sometimes encircled by a laurel wreath. Later, under Tsars like Alexander III and Nicholas II, their portraits began to appear on the silver and gold coins, a direct and personal assertion of their absolute power. For the people living in Belarus, this new money was a constant reminder of their changed status. The language on the coins was exclusively Russian, and the symbols were those of a foreign power. The mints that had once produced Lithuanian groschen were either closed or repurposed to strike Russian currency. This period represents a complete break with the region's previous numismatic traditions. The intricate dance of Polish and Lithuanian heraldry was gone. replaced by the monolithic and unyielding iconography of St. Petersburg. The coins became instruments of Russification, helping to integrate the new Western provinces into the economic and political body of the empire. This system remained in place for more than a century, providing a stable, if imperial, currency. The metals used were generally of good quality: copper, silver, and gold, and the minting was of a high standard. However, the turmoil of the early 20th century, culminating in the First World War and the Russian Revolution, shattered this stability. The empire collapsed, and its currency became worthless. A chaotic period ensued where all sorts of emergency money and foreign currencies circulated, a monetary reflection of the political vacuum. The era of the Tsar's ruble was over, and a new, even more radical system was about to be born from the ashes. Following the chaos of revolution and civil war, the Belarusian lands were incorporated into the Soviet Union, heralding yet another complete monetary overhaul. The new communist state sought to sweep away every vestige of the old world, and that included its currency. The imperial eagles and Tsarist portraits were replaced with the potent symbols of the new regime: the hammer and sickle, the five-pointed star, and sheaves of wheat encircling the globe, representing the dream of world revolution. The Soviet ruble and kopek became the currency for all republics, including the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic, as it was then known. The design of Soviet coins was a masterclass in political messaging, intended to be functional, uniform, and ideologically pure. Early coins from the 1920s were struck in silver, a brief continuation of older standards, but the state quickly moved to cheaper base metals like aluminium bronze and cupro-nickel. The coins were meant to serve the people's economy, not to be a store of intrinsic wealth. The inscriptions were simple: the denomination, the year, and the iconic acronym SSSR, meaning USSR. There was absolutely no room for regional identity. A kopek minted in Leningrad was identical to one used in Minsk or Tashkent. The money was a tool for creating a single, unified Soviet man. For nearly 70 years, these were the only coins Belarusians knew. Generations grew up buying ice cream with bronze kopeks and using cupro-nickel rubles for metro tokens. The coins represented a period of immense upheaval, industrialization, war, and reconstruction. They were the currency of victory in the Great Patriotic War and the currency of the stagnant Brezhnev era. The designs changed very little over the decades, reflecting the monolithic and unchanging nature of the Soviet system itself. A commemorative ruble might be issued for an anniversary of the revolution or the space program, but these still celebrated the achievements of the Union as a whole, never the unique culture of a constituent republic. The absence of any Belarusian national symbols on the currency was total. The vitis, the ancient heraldry, the very name of the country, all were absent from the coinage that people used every single day. The money in their pockets told them that they were part of a vast, centralized superstate, their local identity subsumed into a greater Soviet whole. When the Soviet Union finally began to crumble in the late 1980s and early 1990s, its currency also fell apart. Hyperinflation rendered the kopeks and rubles virtually worthless, a fittingly chaotic end to a system built on rigid, top-down control. The stage was set for Belarus to, once again, create a currency of its own. In 1991, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Belarus declared its independence and faced the monumental task of building a nation-state from the ground up. One of the most urgent and honestly symbolic steps was the creation of a national currency to replace the worthless Soviet ruble. This led to the introduction of the Belarusian Ruble, affectionately nicknamed the Zaychik, or Little Hare, because the 1 ruble note featured a delightful picture of one. The first series of banknotes was a veritable menagerie featuring squirrels, beavers, wolves, and bison. For the first time in centuries, the money of Belarus depicted something uniquely Belarusian, even if it was the local fauna. However, a rather peculiar situation arose. While the new republic printed banknotes, it did not introduce any coins. For a quarter of a century, from 1992 until 2016, Belarus was a land without coinage for general circulation. This was a highly unusual decision, driven primarily by the rampant inflation that plagued the country's economy throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. The value of the ruble was falling so quickly that any coin would have become practically worthless almost as soon as it was minted. It simply wasn't cost-effective to produce metal discs whose metallic value might soon exceed their face value. So, Belarusians made do with small-denomination banknotes. This absence of coins had a curious effect on daily life. Pockets were filled with flimsy paper notes instead of jingling metal. the country went through several redenominations where zeros were lopped off the currency to make calculations manageable. A banknote for 100,000 rubles might become a 10-ruble note overnight. This constant economic instability made the idea of long-lasting durable coins seem like a distant dream. The zaychiki and their successors were a symbol of a turbulent transition, a currency that reflected the fragility and uncertainty of the new nation's economic journey. It was a temporary solution that ended up lasting for a generation. The decision not to have coins set Belarus apart from almost every other country in the world. While the nation was issuing beautiful commemorative coins for collectors during this period, the everyday person had no metal money. This strange chapter in Belarusian numismatic history finally came to an end as the economy began to stabilize. The government made a momentous decision. After 25 years, it was time for Belarus to have a proper, modern currency system, complete with both banknotes and, at long last, a full set of circulating coins. The stage was set for the biggest monetary change in the country's independent history. On the 1st of July 2016, Belarus underwent a dramatic monetary redenomination, lopping 4 zeros off its currency. But the truly historic change was the introduction, for the first time in its independent history, of a full set of circulating coins. After a 25-year absence, the jingle of change finally returned to Belarusian pockets and cash registers. This was a huge psychological and practical shift, signaling a new era of economic stability and a move towards normalcy in the European context. The coins were actually minted well in advance, back in 2009, by the Lithuanian Mint and the Kremnica Mint in Slovakia, and then kept in storage, waiting for the economic conditions to be just right for their release. The new set consists of 8 denominations. The 1, 2, and 5 kopeck coins are made of copper-plated steel, giving them a reddish hue, reminiscent of old Soviet kopecks. The 10, 20, and 50 kopeck coins are made of brass-plated steel, giving them a golden color. And for the higher values, a 1 ruble coin was introduced, along with a rather handsome bimetallic 2 ruble coin featuring a golden-colored brass ring around a silver-colored cupro-nickel center. This range of colors and sizes makes them easily distinguishable, a hallmark of well-thought-out modern coinage design. It was a comprehensive and professional launch. The designs on these new coins are elegant and deeply symbolic. The reverse side of each coin clearly shows its value, but the obverse is where the national identity shines through. All 8 coins feature the state emblem of the Republic of Belarus, which includes a map of the country, rays of sun, and a garland of wheat, clover, and flax. Below the emblem is the inscription Belarus and the year of minting, 2009. This consistent design across all denominations creates a strong, unified, national brand. It's a clean, modern look that firmly plants the country's identity on its currency, a stark contrast to the Soviet era's enforced uniformity. The introduction of these coins was more than just a practical measure. It was a statement of confidence in the nation's economy and its future. Coins are durable, they last for decades, and a government does not issue them if it expects runaway inflation to make them worthless in a year or two. For Belarusians, it was a tangible sign of progress. For the first time in a generation, they had sturdy, national coins in their hands. The Great Coin Comeback of 2016 closed a strange chapter and opened a new one, finally giving the independent Republic of Belarus a complete and modern monetary system to call its own. While Belarus was a land without circulating coins for 25 years, its national bank was certainly not idle. In fact, it was quietly building a reputation for producing some of the most beautiful, innovative, and sought-after commemorative coins in the world. These are not the coins you get as change from a loaf of bread. They are legal tender, yes, but they are really miniature works of art, crafted for collectors and investors. Made from precious metals like silver and gold, and sometimes more unusual materials, they explore a vast range of themes close to the nation's heart, from history and nature to folklore and sport. The artistry of these coins is simply breathtaking. The National Bank of Belarus has pushed the boundaries of minting technology, incorporating features that make its coins stand out. You can find coins with pad printing, which allows for vibrant, full-color images. Some have inset crystals from Swarovski, adding a touch of sparkle and luxury. Others feature holograms, selective gold plating, or even pieces of inset amber or wood. One particularly famous series on Belarusian folktales looks like it has been cut from a storybook, with intricate designs and oxidized finishes that give them an antique look. These are not just coins, they are multimedia creations. The themes are a celebration of all things Belarusian. There are series dedicated to national parks and endangered wildlife, showcasing the pristine nature of the country. Others commemorate famous figures from Belarusian history and culture, like the poet Jakub Kolas or the educator Franciszek Skarina. Architectural monuments, national holidays, and Orthodox saints are also popular subjects. Through these coins, the country tells its story to the world, highlighting its rich cultural heritage and natural beauty. For collectors, they offer a window into a nation's soul, expressed through the meticulous craft of the minter's art. This distinction between circulating coins and collector coins is crucial. The kopecks and rubles of 2016 are the workhorses of the economy, while the commemorative pieces are its show ponies. The collector coins have a face value, but their real value, their numismatic value, is far higher, determined by their precious metal content, rarity, and artistic merit. They have made Belarus a major player in the international collector market, with many of its issues winning prestigious awards at global coin conventions. It's a remarkable achievement for a country that, for so long, had no everyday coins at all. Looking back at the long and winding road of Belarusian coins, from old silver bars to today's 2 metal rubles, is like reading the history of the country itself. The coins aren't just for buying things, they're like tiny metal books that tell a story of being independent, being taken over, who they are, and how they kept going. Every change in the metal, the design, or the language on the coins shows a big moment in the country's past. The story of Belarus is about being in the middle of everything, and its money has always shown the powerful groups that met and fought on its land. It's a history you can actually hold in your hand. The pictures on the coins are like quick drawings that explain this history. The Vitus Knight from the Grand Duchy talks about a great time of being a country and a strong connection to a shared past with Lithuania and Belarus. The Polish eagle next to it tells about a big commonwealth, a joining of 2 peoples. The serious Russian double-headed eagle marks 100 years of being ruled by an empire and stopping local ways of life. The Soviet hammer and sickle shows a time of everyone thinking the same way and erasing differences between countries. Finally, the new symbol of an independent Belarus, seen on the 2016 coins, is a statement of being in charge and a hope for a steady, good future. People from all over the world like collecting Belarusian coins today. This shows how rich its history is and how much the country cares about coin art. Collectors love how many different kinds there are, from old denarii to the amazing and creative new special issue coins. The cool new things, the colors, the crystals, the weird shapes, make them special and very wanted. They're not just another set of coins. They're things you can talk about, tiny works of art that mix skill with deep cultural meaning. Belarus has found a special place for itself, becoming known for good quality and new ideas in the tough world of making modern coins. In the end, the journey of Belarusian coins is a strong lesson in how money shows what's important to a country. It shows a constant fight to be themselves against big empires and ideas. From having no coins of its own, to using the coins of its rulers, to finally making a full and lively money system, Belarus has written its story onto metal. The coins are a real link to the past and a sign of national pride now. They are quite simply a pocket full of history, reminding us that even the smallest things can tell the biggest stories.